What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. This here is Legitical Response, and I got some more debates coming in. Piers Morgan, once again, of course, we're discussing a very, very crazy situation, I guess you could call it. A crazy situation. I did a good bit of research. We're talking Israel, Palestine, Iran, Hezbollah, Hamas, and all that good garbage. We've got some people in this world that, to me, just seem insane, just outright. These people, like this guy we got coming up on Piers Morgan, is a professor, for crying out loud. And some of the stuff he says is just outright, just plain old insanity. Like, these people are really just... it's hard to say they don't have a grasp on what's going on, because the guy's a professor, for crying out loud. But, you know, I did a lot of research into this, and it's a very, very complicated situation. You got the Balfour Declaration, Theodore Herzl, all these people, right? Like, let's get into it and see what the hell we're talking about here. Check this out, y'all.
It's interesting you phrase it as a terror attack, given that given that Hezbollah is identified by America and many other countries as a terrorist group, and given that it was very specific in its targeting, you know, extraordinarily precise, it is obviously horrific that civilians were killed in the process. But the vast majority of people who were damaged or wounded or killed by the pager attacks were members of Hezbollah, who are, according to America and Israel, a terror group. So that's how they would categorize it. That's not an act of terror. That would be, under the laws of combat, they would say they are taking on combatants, and that's perfectly lawful and legitimate. That is their argument.
Here's if it was pagers and walkie-talkies or cell phones that were in the United States, I think you'd have American bombers over countries who they would claim were behind it. So let's put aside the hypocrisy.
But just to be clear, you don't think that Israel has any military right to respond to Hezbollah firing rockets at Israel?
Israel does not have an ethno-supremacist regime. Apartheid South Africa had never had the right to exist, and Israel never had the right to exist. The only existence...
So it has no right to defend itself against rocket attacks?
But it has no right to exist when it came into being by displacing people and massacring.
I understand your position on its existence. I'm just telling you, given it does exist, does it have no right to defend itself?
This is what you fail to comprehend. As long as you have a master race, as long as you have a hierarchy of race, as long as you have one race that considers itself superior to others, there is not going to be any peace. That's just a fact of life, whether it's in the United States or whether it's in Palestine or whether it's in South Africa. There's not going to be peace. For Iran, the dismantling, and for Hezbollah, the dismantling, or you can call it the destruction, the dismantling of this system has to happen. And this is something that you don't accept, which is fine. You support racism.
No, I don't. No, hang on. Don't misquote me. Don't misquote me. I don't dispute for a moment that is the intention of Hezbollah, the Houthis, Hamas, all funded by Iran. I have no doubt that Iran would like to see the destruction and removal of Israel. I get all that. I'm just saying yeah, but hang on. Yeah. I'm just saying that.
Okay, so to me, that's just outright insanity right there. Saying Israel doesn't have a right to exist. Most of these people, they love to go back to 1948, the Balfour Declaration that came before that. All that good garbage, how, you know, basically the UN, after the fall of the Ottoman Empire, they come in and they displace Palestinians. The Jews just got through going through a damn outright genocide in Europe, and they wanted to get the hell out of Europe, and they chose to go back to their homeland, by the way, because if you look at this historically, that's what a lot of these people don't get. All these pro-Palestinian, pro-Hamas people, they always go back to 1948. Well, Israel's existence, right? Like, there is no historical record for when it came into existence, for crying out loud. That's how long they have existed in that area. They have been the most persecuted ethnic group on the planet, for crying out loud. They've always been in that area. They were pushed out. Hey, guess what? That's what happens when you get conquered. And the Israelis have been conquered more than just about anybody in history. So the fact that they have created their own state and they are thriving in their own state gives them the right to exist. Just because the Arabs came in and pushed out the Israelis doesn't mean they don't have a claim on that land. Now, I understand what you're saying. This works in reverse. That's why I called that a very complicated situation. The Israelis were conquered and the Palestinians came in and that was their land. Well, you know what? Once again, I don't think that conflicts like this can be resolved through violence. You genocide one group, yeah, that's not a good look. It's not a good look at all. I think all this needs to calm down, but you're never going to get that. We know that the Palestinians, they just can't help themselves, it seems like. Understandably, to an extent. However, you look at what's going on, right? Israel, for its part, at least they try, right? The Palestinians, they just launch an attack and just kill civilians just willy-nilly, right? This makes absolutely no sense. Now, what Israel is doing is not all that great either. But, for Hamas and Hezbollah and all this, they're just consistently firing rockets into Israel, consistently killing civilians. And you might say, well, Israel does the same thing. Yeah, well, Israel at least warns these people, says, look, we're about to blow this freaking area up. The IDF does not use civilians as shields. To me, that separates you from being a military force to a terrorist organization. I don't like terrorist organizations whatsoever. I think they need to go away. Yeah. By whatever means, right? If it means that you can't go and arrest these people, which should be what you try first, right? Like that should be the immediate response, is you go and try to apprehend these people, bring them to court, and, bring them to justice. But a lot of times that's just not realistic. And I don't like getting to the point of violence, but, sometimes that's what you got to do. Israel is a small state. They don't have a very large military to be able to just go in and overwhelm with numbers and take these people into custody. So they got to do what they got to do. Look, they were conquered. Get over it. That's what I'm going to say, right? Because Israel has the right to exist. That might be a Zionist take, but look, I don't care. The UN agreed. The United Nations. Oh, who gives them authority? Well, the world does, as a matter of fact. But these people saying Israel doesn't have the right to exist, they should just get bombed into oblivion and conquered into non-existence, makes absolutely no sense and is outright insane. Now, could Israel absolutely tone down the terrorism? Sure. They sure could, and I'm going to say that outright because they do terrorize these people. But in return, they get terrorized. So it's like tit for tat kind of crap going on here, which isn't really good. I don't have any solutions, to be honest with you, but, there needs to be a solution because all of this killing, all of this violence, all this insanity needs to come to a stop, right? Like the Palestinians, I'm sorry, but you're never going to get that land back unless you build an army and you conquer Israel, which at that point you're going to be viewed upon as a terrorist organization still, because if you just go in and genocide Jews, the most genocided ethnic group on the planet, yeah, people are going to revolt. That's not going to be viewed upon positively. So, what is the solution here? I don't have none. Let's see if they come up with anything, because I don't think they will.
I'm just saying that right now, it looks like Hamas is losing, Hezbollah is losing, the Houthis are on the run, and their big backer, Iran, seems to have disappeared. And I'm looking at this thinking, this is odd. Where is their big backer? Where is Iran, who's been sponsoring and funding all this terror? Where are they when the real action starts? And many people think, like I said, it's because Iran either lacks the capability or the will to try and respond to what's happened.
That's what you want people to think.
No, it's what people are saying.
Well, that's
because
what
there's been no response.
Saying, and that is a narrative that you wish to pursue, which is fine. But then you're going to be struck with reality ultimately. Ansarullah is not retreating. The Israeli regime and the Americans have failed in the Red Sea. The Ansarullah survived 7 years of genocidal war backed by the US and your government against their people. They defeated the people who carried out the genocidal war. Do you think a couple of airstrikes from the Israeli regime is going to change anything? They will continue to enforce, as they say, Ansarullah in Yemen, enforce the Genocide Convention. And your governments are the terror organizations. They're the ones that are funding this genocide. They're the ones giving the bombs, the bunker busters to go and bomb homes and civilian towers in Gaza. And whenever they carry it out, the Western media will say Hamas strongholds, terror centers, Hezbollah strongholds. Why? Because they want to justify these terror attacks. No, the terrorists are in London and Washington and Paris and elsewhere. But since you think that somehow you're more civilized and that your countries are better than ours, whatever you do has justification. No, the terrorists are the ones who are supporting the Israeli regime and who have been carrying out terror for a year. Hamas, Islamic Jihad, they are the native population that have been brutalized for 76 years, and Hezbollah has been trying to help them. They voluntarily entered this battle last year, Hezbollah, to draw the Israeli army away from Gaza so they would be able to kill less people. They are heroes, contrary to what you say, and your government has been helping the Israeli regime to slaughter. They've been giving them intelligence, political support, financial support, ammunition, and of course the weapons they have to, and most importantly, the intelligence. All of the Five Eyes and Western intelligence and the AWACS that fly and the drones that fly alongside the Mediterranean, both for Gaza and Lebanon, they're helping the Israeli regime carry out its genocide.
Okay, now I partially don't disagree with some of that. Okay, now I don't think the United States should be involved in this whatsoever. If we want to sell weapons to Israel, they want to purchase the weapons, I have no problem with that. Whatever. Giving them $17 freaking billion and having our fingers in all of this Middle Eastern garbage is ridiculous. I don't think we should be involved. However, to take the position that this professor takes is ignoring the genocide that has gone on of Israelis, of the Jewish people, for thousands of years. Once again, they've been the most persecuted ethnic group in the entire history of the world. Like, they're just ignoring this, and they just go back 76 years to 1948. These conflicts have been going on for thousands of years. To think that we're going to come in and diplomatically resolve all these situations is kind of insane. What needs to happen is these people need to come to some sort of agreement. They need to come to the realization that Israel exists and has the right to exist. Hey, how about just carve out Israel and leave everybody alone? You know, you were booted out. Hey, how about move to a different area? There's plenty of land in that area for these people to go and resettle and make a life for themselves. Why do they want this small strip of land from Israel? It makes no sense. The fact that these people just consistently terrorize the Israelis, and in turn they get terrorized themselves, right? It's terror going back in both directions. Now, the big difference here is, you know, Israel at least attempts to make it appear that they're doing something for the Palestinians, for the people in Gaza. What do the Palestinians do? Right? The Palestinians voted Hamas as their government. That's insane. You can't vote in a terrorist organization and think you're not going to get terrorism. You're not going to get terrorized. Right? It's ridiculous. They give them their freedom. They give them their independence. Sure, they're reliant on Israel for a lot of things, but still, what do they decide to do? With the money that they're given, blah, 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 you get it. They take billions and billions of dollars and make bombs, make rockets to launch into Israel. They take billions and billions of dollars and dig tunnels so they can hide their soldiers. They use civilians as shields. That right there disqualifies you from being a legitimate government. When your soldiers use civilians, women and children, as shields, that is barbaric. That is very sadistic. That is very cowardly. And I don't really see any excuse you could come up with to argue the opposite, right? Especially when we have the United Nations could come in and carve out a Palestinian state, right? Force Israel to leave these people alone, leave them to their own devices, for crying out loud. Why can't they do that? Oh, wait, they have done that. And what do? Like I said, they choose to try to terrorize Israel. They launched this attack, right? They kicked the beehive, for crying out loud, and now they're crying because they got stoned. I'm sorry. Look, I don't like violence in the least. I wish Hamas would have never done this. I wish Israel would have never responded, to be honest with you. But, you know, when something like October 7th happens, you can't just not respond. Sure, turn the other cheek. I understand that. But, you know, not everybody feels that way. If Benjamin Netanyahu would have said, sorry, and that's it, just pulled out and said, okay, we'll leave you alone, there would have been revolt. People want retribution, especially because Hamas didn't target mostly military, like exclusively military, sorry. They targeted civilians. Yet you cross a line when you target civilians. But these people, they don't care about if it's civilian. They think that civilians are targets of opportunity. Just go right ahead. They're colonizers, for crying out loud. Right? Once again, you got to look beyond 1948. You got to look beyond the Balfour Declaration. These people have existed in that area for thousands of years. Both peoples have existed in that area. There have been conflicts for that long. And there's no easy solution to this. But once again, like I said, if people could just stop with the violence, stop with the hate, and let Israel exist and leave Israel alone, I can almost guarantee you that Israel would have no problems allowing the Palestinian state to exist whatsoever. I can almost guarantee that. Because people don't want to live under violence constantly, under the threat of missile attacks, rocket attacks. You got these people just on the other side of a fence, for crying out loud, that want to see you wiped off the map. What do you think that feels like, living under that? You know, that once again, that goes both ways. But like I said, the UN, if Israel expands, they just need to come in, stop the expansion of Israel. Just stop it, because that's illegal expansion. Their colonization efforts continuing should stop outright. And I bet the Palestinians would be fine with that if they would just leave each other alone. But it's really complicated. Like I said, I don't have all the answers. Don't know if you guys have all the answers. Maybe you do. If you do, leave them down in the comment section. I'd love to hear from you guys. But, you know, y'all could do me a big favor. Right quick. Hit that like button for me if you don't mind. Subscribe to this channel. Share this video anywhere and everywhere you can, because it helps spread these videos out. It helps the channel to grow. And I would be greatly appreciative of that gesture. That would be awesome. And, think that's all I got for this one, y'all. I want y'all to let me know what y'all think. That's all I got. I want to thank everybody for watching, and y'all try to have a good day. Stay legitical. Peace.